Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hi. So today it's me and Andrew. Chris, hold on, it's not there yet.
Okay.
Chris wasn't feeling well today. He had some chores to do, he had some stuff to do, so he's going to be with us next time. So today we're going to be talking about forgiveness. Yeah. We're going to be talking about forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Have you ever actually forgave yourself for anything? Have you forgave someone for anything? And forgiveness is actually the gateway to healing energetically 100%. Or not, maybe not 100% because there's a lot of work to be done, but gets you in that proper path to get healed. So, what's forgiveness? What can we say about forgiveness?
You know, I used to think of it so simply, like being able to just hear someone out and let their apology kind of enter your being, or giving in and perceiving it. But it's so much deeper, just like you said. I think true forgiveness, especially in things that are like immense transgressions, not like someone who's lied to you about washing their hands before dinner, but the big stuff. There's a period where you start to look back on your life, and I find like forgiveness plays into like this ownership of what we've done. Like, it's YC. My spouse Sam likes to say that your choice, your consequence. I think a lot of times, if you're able to start that real path of forgiveness, you forgive several times, because as you relive a situation, whether in your mind or relive a similar situation in life, like things mirror themselves, you're able to draw more empathy and take a step back each time. And it's like you re-forgive yourself and the other party repeatedly. And there's a point where that just stops. And you're like, oh, wow, this is genuine forgiveness. It's done now. It's clear. It doesn't pull anything anymore.
And being able to forgive yourself for the partner or the party, the other party,
yes,
you actually start to develop a sense of growth. And that's a big aspect a lot of people aren't able to do. And it's also... You're taking accountability for your actions as well. You're understanding what you're doing. You're understanding what your mistakes have been, and it takes a lot of courage, to be honest, to actually forgive yourself. But it's actually, do you know what you're doing wrong, and are you able to forgive yourself for doing something wrong, or that someone else did something wrong to you? And a lot of people, they hold on that as a burden, and they're not able to let go. So once you're able to forgive yourself, it's easier to let go. I'm not saying it's easier to let go, but it's just a lot easier to let go. You're able to understand that you don't need this a part of your life. It's easier for you to detach. And we've spoken about detachment or detachment a lot in the previous podcasts, where Chris just said, love the background.
It's beautiful.
Thanks,
it
Chris.
really is. It's really nice.
So being able to forgive yourself, you actually... this is obviously my opinion, but you actually allow yourself to detach from what binds you to other things or other people.
It's like who you were sometimes too. Like you were talking about how you changed the decor here. It's not obvious, but sometimes like every day you walk into your room and you see this thing that you won when you were 14. I'm not saying everybody needs to go that route, but I found that for myself. Reminders of periods when I was this or I was that, eventually they kind of affect your mindset in the present moment. Like, oh, I have this sweater I always used to wear with this one individual, and that relationship ended up being very destructive. Burn it? I didn't have to right away. I held on to a lot of things. I figured everybody's got a memory chest or something, and I thought, okay. And every time I've moved, I find myself throwing things out more, and I do feel lighter. And from that, the thought comes about like, oh, where does that feeling come from? And what did I do to have this feeling inside? Why am I harboring this feeling? What happened? What did I forget? And kind of like watching a movie more than once, you pick up on different things each time. You're like, this might have been their perspective on the matter at that time in this moment, and this was mine. They're not wrong, but I could see how I completely missed what was important to them, and I didn't have empathy for them, or vice versa. And eventually you're like, we're all just people who have this limited understanding of each other. We're trying to get through it without hurting each other too much. Most people are trying to do their best. There's very few people who are really like tyrannical and want to harm people. It's a lot of times misunderstanding, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. But yeah.
And it's also looking like we were saying when I changed the decor in here. It's looking at certain things that remind you of certain situations, you know, it actually affects the ego, and it keeps boosting the ego for no reason. When you start changing things around, you start changing the energy, you start changing the environment, then you start learning how to subtly change things in your life as well, and you start noticing that everything around you starts to change for a more positive, for a more positive aspect. So when you start forgiving yourself, you understand that you're letting go of something that was an attachment aspect towards you, because like it or not, for you to forgive yourself or for you not to forgive yourself is because you held on to that burden for so long, whether it was guilt, anger, resentment, whatever it is. That's you attaching to those emotions. So being attached to those emotions, you reproduce all those cyclical patterns. And once you're able to forgive yourself, you break those patterns, or you actually understand how to break those patterns, and you move forward. You let yourself detach from those situations, and then you start to grow. You start to grow, not just personally, but everything around you starts to shift in a positive more aspect, because you allow more space to enter into your life, into your world. So Chris said something as well.
Whoops.
Gotta forgive yourself. Yeah, 100%. And personally, I mean, you don't realize things, and you know, I could give my personal advice too. You know, doing things back in when you're in your 20s, early 20s, and you learn from your mistakes. You think you learn from your mistakes, and you think you let go until someone reaches out and says, well, maybe you didn't because of this, this, and this. So in my aspect, feeling guilty for something. And feeling guilty for something, whether I like it or not, probably had an effect on my future endeavors or relationships with people, that it blocked energetically without even realizing it. And it put a sense of fear into other people. So when you actually go back and understand that, shoot, I gotta forgive myself for being guilty because the other person forgave me. So now it's my turn to forgive myself. Well, I just broke a pattern there, understanding that there's no reason to be guilty if someone else is forgiving you as well. And with that in mind, you actually are able to produce a different pattern, but also elevate your conscious level and allow new positivity or new ideas or new concepts into your life. You basically, you're taking out the old and you're putting in the new. You want to say something?
Well said. I find the longer you do this, Anthony, you express yourself so much better. It's eloquent. It's well said.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Hold on. Chris said accountability is also about understanding and accepting the consequences that came with the actions one took, accepting that it was necessary for the lessons that one needed so they can move forward with their life path. And that's true also. The more that we forgive ourselves, we allow ourselves to live in our present moment, but our life purpose also. We understand what our life purpose is for. Whether it's to help someone, just be in someone's life, to enlighten them, whatever it may be. You know, Chris is talking about accountability, which we'll actually talk with him in the next podcast.
Yeah.
But
I gotta go. Sorry. Keep going.
But yeah, you end up realizing what your life path actually is, what your life purpose actually is. You start considering yourself to have an enlightenment, and with that in mind, you're able to pursue things more harmoniously, and you move in that direction, and life just basically takes you on that journey where you're supposed to be. You want to say something?
Yeah, I think so. It does kind of feel synchronistic like that after a while. I imagine, like, I still find myself recognizing patterns so profoundly, though, the longer that I get into this. It's actually kind of scary to break those more foundational ones, because you're like, oh wow, this is where what I believe to be my identity is found. And I'm seeing two lately. I'm like, I don't really know how to break this. It's not true. I don't know that I'm ready or not fearful enough to break them yet, but I can feel them. And I was watching a movie the other day. I like this movie. I watched it a lot over the years. It's called The Bronx Tale. And when I think about life after watching that movie, you know, you see, what do they call him? What's the kid's name?
I didn't even watch The Bronx Tale.
No, it's okay. But anyways, the lead character, the boy, he's raised by like a regular working man. He's a bus driver, and his mom, like, they're working class and they're straight, but they live right down the street, like right, like a few doors down from like a Wise Guys club. And this one guy takes a shining to him because one day the boy is the only guy on the street and he witnesses him take someone's life. And he keeps his mouth shut to the cops. So he's like, I love this kid. And he like treats him like his own son. And then throughout his upbringing, like he goes from being like a young kid to like being an adult. And he's always there and they're close. And he's always got his back. And he's always trying to steer him away from that kind of stuff, but also always trying to help him with these like really great pearls of wisdom. And there's a lot of times where the kid is a little bit irritated by him. But every time he looks back, he's like, wow. He was giving me excellent advice. He was steering me away from stuff. And there's one period in the movie where his friends that are his age they're boneheads. They're like super reactive, super racist, and they're just like one night they're gonna go like set a barbershop, like a store in the black neighborhood on fire. And the idiots, they start throwing Molotov cocktails. Someone throws it back in the car. They all burn to death. The car blows up. But before they left, like they're trying to bring this main character into the car with them, and his old wise guy friend's like, no, stop hanging out with these idiots. You fuck off. And he takes him out of the car. And he's like, look, I need to talk to you. And that moment where he's like, look, these are not good for you. You're gonna wind up in the wrong place, the wrong time. That night he could have died. And in that movie, there's a lot of moments where he's like, it's a few simple words, and the kid's just like, he doesn't want to listen to him. But every time, like, he really, really helps him. And when I look back on life, there's so many moments where I'm just like, I want my friends, this and that. And there's like these great mentors or other people who drop pearls that I just wasn't ready to hear. And then there's like this regret. And then you said, that's where I start to play into the self, like the forgiving myself. So I'm like, man, I put my foot in my mouth so many times, and I missed this nugget of gold being handed to me to go grab some crumbs on the ground. And that's where I those kinds of moments are where I have to work a lot with forgiving myself, because I'm like, I'm where I'm now because of what I've chosen, just because I wasn't aware enough. Like when you're not healed enough, you're not aware enough to really recognize that good opportunity right in front of you. So you just keep doing, you just keep living in a pattern, or you keep living in the wrong group, and you're like, boy.
So that's, and actually someone just wrote that, yes, you need to be ready to hear the message. And Chris said the Calacorgi. Calacorgi, is that the guy's name? You probably looked that up anyways. But yeah, it's exactly that. You need to be ready.
Call him C in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they call him C.
So yeah, you have to be ready to learn the message, to understand the message, to actually hear the message. Because a lot of us won't listen to the message because we think our ego is going to protect us. Be like, what do we know, right?
I know better.
We'll just do exactly. I'll
kid.
just live it myself.
Yeah, I'm a dumb.
But the thing is, and that thing with forgiveness is, you are gonna go through as experiments or experiences. You need to understand that, like you said, it brought you to where you are today.
At least I'm alive. Hey, some people don't make it,
100%. But at the same time, the way to forgive yourself, and this is probably a personal, telling you as well.
Of course, I'm listening to you.
It's not just, it's a matter of forgiving yourself and telling yourself at the same time that I forgive myself for what I did or what happened, what I went through, but I have to forgive myself because I understand that that's who I was then.
Yep.
And it made me who I am today. So that's how you have to approach it at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's probably just one step to understanding how to start forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
And then you could go around or you tell yourself, you feel it through and you understand and say like, I feel guilty. I'm forgive myself for feeling guilty and stuff like that, right?
On the tough days, it's regret sometimes. On the tough days, you're like,
when you're feeling regret, that's also feeling guilty.
Yeah.
So that's one way of saying that, you know what? You have to tell yourself basically, in that moment, you didn't know any better that you know now, and you had to go through that to understand what you know now.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to forgive yourself for.
Yeah. Because
you were in positions where you wanted to please everyone.
I'd say so. I think I don't even know that I'd a pleaser, but a toxic giver. Sometimes I'd want to give before it was even ready to please others. So I see others in need,
And but that's what you have to forgive yourself for. Because once you're able to do that, you understand where you put your boundaries, where you set your boundaries, and where you can place your energies and who to give it to.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been seeing a lot with you as well, is you're actually placing your boundaries, you see it.
Yeah, it's subtle. Yeah, it's odd. A lot of times you just feel like you've got a lot of free time all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And you play with the idea of being selfish. I find that now it's just to not go into a complacent comfort, laziness, where you just place boundaries because you've become. Because what I notice is from usually if you've taken a long time to heal properly, you've probably gone through burnout or close to it, and then when you finally take a break, it's hard to get going again, get the engine going again. So I got to be careful with that and just not become a hermit. Because you can become a little bit antisocial. You can block the world off because you got fear or you got something.
What I could say to that is, you could block him, but not too much.
Yeah.
Like you want to block it just because you want to heal.
Yeah.
Right. So there is going to be a moment where you're going to seclude yourself, but understanding to seclude yourself to elevate yourself is one way. And I'm saying that because a lot of people don't take it that way either. So, like Francesca said, also forgiveness of yourself and others brings you peace, and it's true because once you're able to forgive yourself, the burdens and your shoulders you let go, and again it brings in that new energy that you need to progress and heal.
It's a great gift too. I find the second you've actually felt peace, I know a lot of people haven't really felt it.
They say it, but they don't believe it themselves.
No, I don't even know if they know what it feels like. Like really peaceful, then you know everything that's not.
Yeah.
It's like a radar. It's like ding, 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 ding.
And you understand the triggers much more efficiently.
Yeah,
and you're able
to
block it easier. So you don't have to repeat your same patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're really healed, you don't actually feel reactiveness come out. You look at it and you're like, I remember what it was like encountering this before.
We should be living them, harmoniously in peace and joy as much as we can in love. So that when you're in those states, nothing really triggers you because you understand that you're doing everything out of love and everything is just out of love. So thanks by the way, Chris, 100%. For telling me nicely said. So we'll leave you guys on that little tidbit for today. I think we covered the forgiveness pretty well.
It was great, Anthony. Yeah. This was not planned either. So he had another. There's something else that's planned to be presented with Chris, and this was on the fly. It was great.
So next week, like Chris keeps pointing out about the accountability, we're gonna talk about that next week. And he just made a comment perfectly said, Francesca, once you accept it's all part of the journey, you finally find peace. And that's the thing too, is trusting the journey and understanding that once you forgive yourself, and like I said before, entering your life path, everything opens up and everything is just easier and you just flow through. You just got to trust and be patient, and that's something that most of us have a hard time with, including myself, is patience.
Hey, you're 10 times better, Anthony.
Yeah, 100%. I am patient. Yeah, no, 100%. No, 100%. But I'm just saying, like, I was culprit of that. So anybody's able to do it once you start sidetracking, but you just got to start putting yourself back into order, I'll call it, and align yourself, be patient, spread the love, spread the joy, and that's it. So best advice is to be patient, trust the process, trust in yourselves most, and just spread love as much as you can.
Have a great weekend, guys.
We care.
Oh, you do this?
I like this, I guess.
Oh, the thumb out?
Oh, yeah, exactly. We care. The W.
Oh, this is not Malocchio.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why the thumb comes up.
Oh, gotcha.